The stadium. I don't see really need to do that. Mainly such a big spending, but it's true that it would be a fantastic stadium. That's not bad, but you have to be careful, and mainly at this moment when we are going to face a very difficult time. In 2010, I managed to get the final of the Champions League when I was in UEFA and FIFA, and because UEFA thought it was one of the best stadiums in Europe. So nobody were complaining about the stadium, but the current president has decided to build a new one. So he for sure has seen the figures, and he knows that it's possible, it's feasible, economically speaking, to do that, but it's going to be for sure a very important refurbishment, maybe 1 billion euros. So that's a lot of money.
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, very warm welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to continue some interviews, and we have the former president of Real Madrid, Mr. Ramón Calderón, with us. So without wasting much time, I would like to first thank Ramón for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing these days?
Very good morning here in Spain, in Madrid. Really very worried, everyone, about how fast the virus is spreading in this new wave, much more than before. So hospitals, again, full of people, the intensive care units too. Well, a disaster, really, big trouble, lot of concern, and hoping that a vaccine comes as soon as possible.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you this thing, I had this doubt. You are basically a lawyer who has a law background. How did you get into football?
As every child here, I was living not in Madrid, in a small city close to Madrid, 200 kilometers from here. And I, as every kid, as I said, were supporting Real Madrid. I was a Real Madrid fan, knowing that it was an incredible team the time I was a kid. And after that, I came to Madrid to practice as a lawyer, to open my own office after 2 years in London. And little by little, I started to become part of the club, of the life of the club, just being part of the assemblies. And I became in 2000 member of the board. I was for nearly 7 years, and then after that, when the president left, I became the president for 3 years. Very, very honored of that. A lot of responsibility, but it's really an honor to be the president of the best club of the world.
Of course, I wanted to ask you, when you just started, you said you're in London, you came back and you were getting involved in the Real Madrid setup. Did you imagine you will be a president one day?
Not really. As always in life, when something like that happens, comes not suddenly, but little by little, you start just knowing that that can be possible, and finally you are there, as I said, with a lot of responsibility. Millions of people just watching what you do, millions of people around the world expecting the team to win titles, and also to play well and to bring the best players you can. And also when you win, I said that many times, that you don't feel happiness or joy, you too, but mainly what you feel is relief, because you know that you are having 3 or 4 days when people are not complaining, not blaming you about what you did wrong, or why you did what they think it was wrong.
Of course, like I wanted to ask you about. I'll go to Madrid, and you had a very successful period where you had Capello, and you had won a lot of titles when you were the president. How do you
Sorry,
look back? How do you look back at your time as a president?
I I rely always on the professionals. In my time was Pedja Mijatovic, the one who decided the signings. He got in touch with Capello. He was on my team when I decided to run for the presidency. Then he got in touch with him. Capello was happy to come back. As you know, he had been before, few years before with Real Madrid. And then we started to build the team. It was very difficult because we came from that era, very special era of the Galacticos, where in theory we thought we had built the best team possible. But the results were completely the opposite. In 3 years, we didn't win any single title. That was the first time in history, Real Madrid history, that happens. And we needed to change completely the team. So we signed 14 players, very good signings. Cannavaro, Pepe, Van Nistelrooy, Snyder. I don't remember, but we signed 14. Well, Marcelo, Higuaín, and then finally Cristiano Ronaldo. I think that was Pedja Mijatovic's merit. He did it quite well. Then we managed to win 2 titles in a row. The first one in a very, very special league. Just coming back and for 8 points behind Barcelona. But the Barcelona, the real Barcelona, Messi, Pujol, Xavi, Iniesta, all the best players, and a fantastic team, by the way. And the second year, we managed to win the title with 18 points ahead Barcelona. So it was a fantastic time. I'm very proud of having got it, and I think fans really enjoyed that time.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you, during your time, you also focused on the youth football and everything. What do you think of La Fabricia? Is it getting better right now?
Sorry, I cannot understand what you said.
No, I meant you during your time as the president, you also focused on youth football, creating sustainability.
Yeah, of course.
What do you think of right now? How is it right now?
I think that was very important on my time. We thought that kids are to give joy to kids is perhaps the best you can have. Yeah, we did a very good job with that, opening academies all around the world, but not looking for talent. Yeah, trying to help kids with problems in areas where they don't have the opportunity to have what other kids have. So in my time, that was fantastic. I got many good moments with the kids, and in some of the conferences I give about my time with Real Madrid, I always show some slides. One of them with the 2 Liga titles, 1 Champions League, and also with the kids. And I ask, if you ask me what of those pictures I feel more proud of, I would say for sure the ones with the kids. To see the smile, the joy, the way they like to be with the people from my club, La Real Madrid. I usually went with some players so they could take pictures with them. I could give them shirts signed by the players and everything, and flags and so on. So I think that has been, for me, it was the best memories that can have for that time. I don't know now. I suppose they are doing the same. I had that commitment because I thought that kids deserve that, mainly the kids that are not lucky enough to enjoy as other kids in other parts of the world.
Of course, and that's a very important factor, as a club for Real Madrid overall, to provide happiness all over the world to many underprivileged people. I wanted to ask you another question. It is sent in by Shirsa, and he has asked like, what is your thoughts on the stadium renovation? Like, was it something that was long overdue?
The renovation, you mean?
Of the stadium.
The stadium. I don't see really need to do that. Mainly such a big spending, but it's true that it would be a fantastic stadium. That's not bad, but you have to be careful, and mainly at this moment when we are going to face a very difficult time. In 2010, I managed to get the final of the Champions League when I was in UEFA and FIFA, and because UEFA thought it was one of the best stadiums in Europe. So nobody were complaining about the stadium, but the current president has decided to build a new one. So he for sure has seen the figures, and he knows that it's possible, it's feasible, economically speaking, to do that, but it's going to be for sure a very important refurbishment, maybe 1 billion euros. So that's a lot of money.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you, during your time as the president, you signed, the Ronaldo came in during the end, but you wanted to sign him 1 year earlier. Do you think that would have changed everything for you?
I tried, but to sign a player like Cristiano is very difficult. I was 2 years trying to do that, but Man United, of course, didn't want to let a player like him go. And but finally, when a player decides to go, you have to accept it, and the point is to find the right amount of money for the transfer. And it's what we did with Man United. Ferguson didn't like very much to let him go to Real Madrid. He considers us rivals in titles and in history and in economically speaking. So he preferred him going to another club. But the player was very firm, very strong about that. He said, I got a commitment with Real Madrid and Mr. Calderon, so I'm going to Real Madrid. And finally, we managed to do it. It's true that he was going to come 1 year before. And I remember being in Bogota playing a friendly match. He called me and said, Mr. President, I'm sorry, I can't go as we have foreseen this year. I promised to Ferguson, to the club, to remain for 1 more year. So let's sign this in December, and with everyone agree about the money, about the time, and so on. So we signed all the contracts with him, and fortunately, it was a fantastic signing. 9 years, 4 Champions Leagues, all the records. I don't know how many Ballon d'Or. So one of those signings that you are really very, very proud of. Very proud of.
Of course, I wanted to ask you, with staying with Ronaldo, do you think it was a mistake selling him?
Yeah, for sure. There was always a disagreement between the current president and himself, because when he arrived, he saw the contract signed, and he has many virtues, but one of them is not to accept the inheritance he receives. So he thought that was too much money, that it wasn't really a player who to pay that amount of money. And then he tried not to go on with the contract. The player knew that, and for that moment there was a disagreement between them. And finally, I think the president didn't think anyone was going to pay 100 million for him. But of course, one very wise club came, Juventus, and they were able to sign the player. And now I'm sure they are very happy with him. And he has still 3 or 4 more years. He's a player that gets up every day thinking only about being best player than the day before. And with his skill, with his talent, with his strength, that's unbeatable. So I think he's one of the best players I've seen in my life.
Of course, and like the next question is sent in by Mr. Sunam Ghali, and he has asked like during your tenure as the president, which was the most difficult signing to get over the line?
Well, maybe Cristiano, because it took us 2 years. The others were quite well, not easy, but let's say, for example, Robin, we had a difficult time trying to sign him because Roman Abramovich, despite the player wasn't playing with Chelsea, he was asking for an amount of money. We tried to reduce it, but he was very firm about not to reduce the amount. And finally, well, we paid that, and I think it was a right decision to sign Robin. He came in a moment where we needed a player like him, and I'm very proud, by the way, of the signing of Marcelo and Higuaín, because I signed them being 18 and 17 years old. So they came being kids, and you know what has happened. Marcelo, perhaps one of the best left backs of the world in the last 12 years. And Higuaín, a good career in different clubs, and as I said, very, very proud of them.
Of course, like, I wanted to ask you, this is a very common question, okay? I wanted to ask you, like, when you are signing a player for Madrid, does it always have to be a huge name? Because generally Madrid are associated with the huge name. As a president, do you feel the pressure to buy a new player with a name?
Well, it's in our history. We always have tried to sign the best players of the world, but I realized that that was not enough. And we had the experience of my first time in the club as a director. We built that very, very interesting and very fascinating model of the Galacticos. We signed first Figo, then Zidane, then Ronaldo, and finally David Beckham. And we thought that with those 4 players that came to join, Roberto Carlos, Raúl, Guti, Casillas, all of the players we had, we would be unbeatable. And as I said before, we forgot something very important, that to be focused on the ground is much more important than having talent. Talent is, of course, is necessary, but you need to train, to work hard, like in any other aspect of life, any other industry. You need to work hard. And maybe we forgot that. It wasn't the players, they weren't the ones to blame, were perhaps the directors that we did many commercials, we did many trips, we were just traveling around the world like the Globetrotters, and that was I think that was a problem. That's why when I became president, among many other measures we took in order to correct that problem, I put a banner in all the dressing rooms of the club, including the Bernabeu Stadium, saying, if we work hard, we can lose, but if we don't, we are lost. I think that was important for the players to know that coming to Real Madrid was the most difficult time they were going to have, because all the teams playing against Real Madrid give the 150% of themselves in order to beat us. So that was important. I think the players understood that. And it's true that we want to have the best players of the world, but you have to combine them with other players that, of course, always they are good players, but maybe not so relevant, not so stars, but you need them too to build a proper team.
Of course, like I wanted to ask you one more thing, like, like nowadays you have a lot of older players who played for Madrid coming back as coaches like Zidane. You have Raúl in the youth setup. What do you think about that? Do you think that is a good way to go ahead?
To get back the players that left?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They know the culture of the club. They know the spirit of this club, what the people want. They know how demanding the fans are. this club has built a legend because the fans who attend Bernabeu Stadium are very demanding. They are used to see the best players of the world and to play the best football. So some of the players, when they come here, they are surprised that people are, they say, are cold at the beginning if the team doesn't play well. And it's because this club in this city, 75% of the people who live here in Madrid weren't born in this city, including myself. So that means that we don't have an identification, regional or local. We have an identification with the success. So that's very important. And as I said, I think that the legend has been built because of that demanding fans attending Bernabeu Stadium.
Of course, like I wanted to ask you this: how much is the pressure being the president of Real Madrid?
Well, a lot, because here we have, I don't know how many media, TV, radio, newspapers talking all the time about what you should do, what you shouldn't have done. It's always a problem. People, you know that in football, everyone is an expert. There is everyone knows perfectly well, much better than the coaches, but better than the president, what to do. You go to anywhere, a cafe or a taxi driver, they will give you a lesson about what to do with a team, with players to sign, how they have to play, the tactics and everything. So it's true that there is a lot of pressure if you don't win, but to win always, it's impossible. And that's the point. That's why a president cannot be for a long time. I think you have to renew that position. In my case, because I'm a lawyer, I have my own office, and a president of Real Madrid is not paid, is not a professional, it's an honorary position. So you have to be for a year, 3 years, no more than that, in my opinion.
Of course, and that's a good thing, so that everyone gets a chance. I wanted to ask you, like with the current team, if you were the president, what would you have improved?
Sorry.
With the current Real Madrid team, if you were the president, what would you have improved?
Well, I think this is a good team, but of course the most important mistake has been to sell Cristiano Ronaldo. I think that for sure has been a big mistake, and now they have decided to sell Bale, which was necessary because the situation was impossible to continue, and I don't know, maybe they need a striker, but there are not many in the market now of the level that Real Madrid needs.
Of course, like I wanted to ask you, like Real Madrid are one of the most successful teams in the world and one of the biggest clubs, recognized clubs all over the world. But do you think like they are losing the power in terms of the pulling power in terms of the players, because now you have many other clubs in maybe in the Premier League or something?
I think this club has a lot to offer to players. That's the attraction is huge. I haven't met any player that doesn't want to come to Real Madrid, for sure. And that was the case with Cristiano Ronaldo. He came because Real Madrid was offering him a lot, personally and as a member of a team. And in fact, he knew that and he got it here. So Real Madrid the history is too important for many players, and if they have the opportunity to come here, I'm sure no one of them are going to reject.
But like many of them say Real Madrid is a huge club and a lot of history, but do you think they come there only for the money, or is it more of the history also?
Well, I think we pay them what they deserve. It is clear that players are professionals and they need to be paid properly according to their category as players. So we have to, of course, if not the players wouldn't come. But despite that, I think if in some cases Real Madrid is paying a bit less than another club, they will choose Real Madrid for sure. There's a lot of visibility for them when they come to here. There's a lot of history around when they see the stadium. There's the trophies. So it's really something special to come to Real Madrid for a player.
I'll ask you one thing, like, when you're signing a new player, what do you say to him? Like, what did you say, like, to bring them to Madrid?
What do they need?
When you're signing a new player from a team, how do you convince them? Like, suppose if you had to speak, what did you say?
Well, it's not difficult, I promise you. When a sporting director or the coach says, Mr. President, I would like to have this player on our side, it's easy. So they are really happy about that election, and that's a matter of getting an agreement with the money. As I said before, they needed the money as all of us in our profession. So and also for the players, his life as professional is very short, 35, 36 at the most, and they have ahead maybe 60 years to live. So they need to get money and to save that money to be able to sustain his family. And as I said, no difficulty to sign a player.
Of course, like, I wanted to ask you, like, staying with the current theme, like the pandemic, the coronavirus has been a very big influence for everyone. It's a bad thing that's happening. How much will it affect football?
A lot. Unfortunately, this is going to be, we are going to face a very difficult time in any sense, but of course in football too. Not having people in the stadiums is really very sad. We saw the images of the players without the support of their fans, and also for the clubs, economically speaking, is a big problem. We are going to lose a lot of money. Players will have to accept this in perhaps reducing his salaries, and we don't know yet how the brands are going to react. TV, fortunately, is fulfilling his contracts, but really difficult times ahead. We will have to cope with it in the best way possible, but it's clear that this is something we couldn't foreseen, and it's going to harm football as any other industry a lot.
Often, like, we generally kind of take it for granted, the fans, like, we think they are just here for the fun. How important is fans for the overall functioning of a club?
They are really very much, mainly because they are the ones to support the players. The players need to feel the support, the songs, and the way to motivate them. It's true that from the point of view of the economy, is not as important as it used to be, because now TV has the main we have the main income from TV, not from the spectators, from the fans, but they are very, very important. We need them. I cannot understand football without fans in the stadiums.
Of course, I wanted to ask you, like, I'll get back to your career, and like, during your career with Real Madrid, whatever you have been associated with, what is the most proudest moment for you?
Well, maybe the best, the most thrilling moment was the match against Mallorca in the first season when we won La Liga. We had come back from 8 points just to win the title. We needed to win that match, and with 20 minutes left, we were losing 0-1. So, and Beckham and Van Nistelrooy were injured, so in theory we hadn't players to score. Reyes, unfortunately, the player who died in an accident, a car accident, came to the pitch, and he scored 2 goals, and Diarra scored the other goal. So to win 3-1 was something incredible, people in the main box were mad. Everyone was hugging, shouting, and some of them crying, because it had been a very, very special season. After those 3 years without any single title, to win that La Liga was really important for the fans, and also for me as the president. I felt a lot of joy and excitement and thrill.
Of course, like now we're getting to the end, and I wanted to ask you, like, are you planning to run for the president anytime soon? Hello?
Hello, I cannot hear you.
Yeah. Are you planning to run for the presidency anytime soon?
No. I'm now with my family, enjoying life, playing golf, which I like very much, traveling and being with my wife. I have 3 grandkids, and I have a lot of work in my office, so I think it was enough. It was a nice time. I have a lot of friends still in that world. I like football. I'm going to like all my life. I try to watch as many matches as I can. Of course, Real Madrid always, and that's it. I think this is a time for everything in life, and for me, 9 years with Real Madrid was enough.
So I'll ask you one question: how do you rate the President Florentino Perez's time at Real Madrid? How has it been?
Well, I think from the point of view of the title, it's difficult to do it better. He's got 4 titles in 5 years, 4 Champions League. That's something no club has done in history. So, for that point of view, I think it's been a very, very important feat. And economically speaking, I don't know. I think he did quite well at the beginning, tried managing to sell the training ground and paying the debt. And now perhaps it's been a bit risky to make the investment in the new stadium, but I don't know. I cannot tell you. I suppose that he's a man of financing. He knows quite well how to do that, and for sure he will have prepared things in the proper way in order to be able to pay that debt without any problem, without harming the strength of the team.
Of course, and I'll ask you 2 more questions, and the first one of the 2 is, if you had to give a piece of advice to Florentino Perez, what advice would you give him?
Well, for sure to rely on professionals. He doesn't really have any confidence in professionals. That's why Real Madrid hasn't got a sporting director. He takes the decisions by his own knowledge. And being an engineer, as I was a lawyer, we know about, or he knows about building tunnels and bridges and roads, but to build a team is quite difficult. So that's why we failed many times in signings, and you can see with Jovic, with Brahim, with a lot of players that we paid a lot of money and they don't play because he likes to decide for himself and not to rely on the coaches or on the sporting directors. I think that's a mistake, but it's what now he's at the helm and he can decide what to do. If it's true that he can say that doing this, I've got for Champions League in 5 years. So maybe the book says that you have to rely on professionals, but maybe sometimes if you go out of the book, you have also another solutions that can give you success.
Of course, like you spoke on a very important topic there where he has a lot of titles. Do you think winning is everything at Madrid?
Sorry, I couldn't understand well.
Is winning titles everything for Madrid?
I don't understand your question. Sorry.
I mean, like the main aim of Madrid is just to win titles. If you win titles, you are safe. Is it something like that at Madrid?
Well, in some way it is. I told you before that this team, the people who support this team, members and fans, are used to winning titles, always, and to have the best players and to be able to attend a show where you are going to have a fantastic time in the stadium. And they think that to win is easy and you have to win always, and that's impossible. It's true that if you win, people can forgive everything. If you don't, it doesn't matter you've done things well or you think that you've done things in the right way, you have to leave.
Of course, and I'll ask you one final question, okay? And it's like, which is the best player that you ever saw playing?
Well, there are different times. Di Stefano in the 50s, 60s was the best player for sure. After that, I've seen many. Zidane was fantastic. Ronaldo, the Brazilian, Figo, Zidane, as I said, Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo. I think there are many different players depending on the time they've been playing. Of course, Messi for Barcelona is one of those players that you really enjoy watching him, despite he is in the rivals. But that doesn't matter. If you like football, you like to see Messi. And I've always said that Real Madrid and Barcelona are big rivals, but they are not enemies. And I always have wished the best for Barcelona. Always they don't play against us, but if they are playing against other teams and they play well, of course, that is sport. Sport values just give you a different idea of things. So rivals are rivals, not enemies. And after the match is finished, all of them are friends, or they shake hands and go for a beer.
Of course, I'll just ask one more question on that. If you are purely a football fan, as a football fan, whom do you prefer, Ronaldo or Messi?
It's two different players. Messi is skill, is talent. Ronaldo is talent, but also explosivity. He is faster. He scored goals in different positions. But two players, two stars. It's difficult to find players like these two in the last 20 years. I think they are complete players, both legs. They do everything well. They help the teams to win matches and titles. And that's we've been very privileged in Spain to having seen the two players playing in our league. So it's a pity that Cristiano is not anymore. Fortunately, Messi is staying in La Liga for giving brilliance to this competition. And I think we've been, as I said, very privileged to be living in an era as a football fans that these players have been playing.
Of course, and I'll let that one go because of that. And I wanted, on that note, I'll wrap this up. And I would like to thank you, Raymond, for talking to me. And I wish you all the best with your law firm, whatever you're doing. And hope we can talk again soon. Take care, stay safe. Bye.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you so much.